Hey, I'm Ethan.
Hi, I'm Mike.
I watched the first half of Maestro.
I watched the second half of Mysterio.
And this
is the other half.
Mike,
Yeah, Ethan.
the beginning of this movie.
Yeah?
is a quote from our main man, Leonard Bernstein.
The one and only.
The one and only. And he
Yeah.
says, a work of art does not answer questions. It provokes them. And let me tell you, I had a lot of questions.
Me too. Yeah,
lot of questions
me too.
about this
That
movie.
honestly answers more questions about the movie. Like, why was it edited this way?
Why? I thought we all established that making, biopics depicting an entire life is kind of fucking boring.
Yeah.
No one likes that. Doesn't make for a very interesting
This isn't
movie.
a biopic. It's a romance between two people over
Is
a long
it?
period. No, it's
No,
not.
it's
It is a
not.
full-on biopic.
It's a full-on biopic.
Yeah.
They center the romance, even though it's like, my romance is I'm cheating on you all the time.
Yeah, because he's gay.
I feel like he's bi.
Oh, maybe he's bi.
But even then, he's still cheating. So
He's
it's
still
like,
cheating. It's
you
still
can
not
break it
good.
off. Like, do something, man.
Yeah,
Like,
that's true.
figure shit out.
That's true. This was something that was established like at the very beginning of my half, and I was just like, "Oh, okay, so this is just gonna be the movie then." Is that? Which is, I don't know. It seems like one of the this should obviously be like a part of the Leonard Bernstein like story, but it's like I feel like there's other parts of the story I'd like to hear about.
I'll be honest. Not a very interesting story. Like, I was watching this, and obviously Leonard Bernstein is a fantastic composer and a really important conductor and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
But in the end, I'm like, I don't give. This fucking life's boring as shit.
Or maybe it wasn't, but it should be told in a way that is more like engrossing.
All he
I don't
does is
know.
walk around and be like,
Yes,
I don't do enough conducting, and I want to be around people. I'm so fucking lonely. It's like, shut the fuck up, dude.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
your whole
yeah.
issue. We made a movie about that. Sometimes people just do good shit, have a couple fairs, and that's it. You don't need to make a movie about that. You know?
That's true.
He's like, what other crazy things did he do? He didn't survive like any sort of like. At least in my half, it doesn't seem like he survived any sort of like horrific oppression or anything. Everyone's like, "You're doing great, bud."
He was a bi man in like the olden days.
But no one's in this movie. It doesn't seem like it fucking matters. Everyone's like, it's
everyone
cool.
seems to know. He's in Hollywood.
Yeah, everyone's like, it's dope, dude. Come
Yeah.
on, look, fuck me. You know.
That's my favorite part of the first half of the movie.
Well, like,
that's so dope, dude. Fuck me.
But like they don't. It's almost like they want to bring issue to it, but literally at the end of my half is the only time it ever became kind of an issue.
Oh,
and
yeah,
and it was
yeah.
only because it was like you're literally cheating on
You're
your wife.
married to a person. Yeah,
That's
exactly.
it. I'm like, what?
yeah.
What I don't know. Maybe it's. I understand. It's probably good to celebrate like, queer love without having the whole thing of all the oppression that's been going on.
I'll tell you,
Sure.
this sure is a lot better than like how Bohemian Rhapsody handled, the gayness.
Oh,
of,
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So I understand that you probably want a refreshing take from it, but in the end, the
Yeah.
movie's so like whimsical and like and over the top and like
You think it's whimsical and over the top?
in
your
like
half
a
of the movie?
weird way.
Yeah.
In a
I feel
weird
like
way.
it's super repressed and like at a distance. That's
See,
my
maybe
issue with it.
that's what it's supposed to be trying to do.
Yeah.
Because at the beginning he's full of life and vim and vigor, and then as he's married for a while, he starts to get a little bit more settled down, a little more sad. I
Right.
imagine, like a little more constrained.
Yeah.
I guess.
Oh, maybe that's the reason it's shot that way, is because he himself is constrained in this marriage.
Yeah.
I see.
Maybe that's why. Because the beginning of this movie is actually like really fun and full of life, and even feels like, like an old Hollywood movie. And I actually really like the way I will give one thing about this movie. I really like the way it's shot and the way it's directed in that sense.
100%. Bradley Cooper is, and I think we said this back when we watched the other movie he made and directed and starred in.
I can't think of it.
Yeah, Star is Born.
Star is Born, yeah.
We both said like he's a really fucking good director. Like
Yeah.
the direction in that movie was also good, and it was good, but in a different way, which also goes to show that Bradley Cooper has like range, like as a filmmaker. But yeah, I agree. I really like how the movie was shot. I love the different aspect ratio. You know me, I'm a big fucking
love
sucker
those
for aspect ratios.
Yep.
I also really thought that the strength of the movie was how it looked, not necessarily how it was told.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not how it was told or even the subject matter.
I think the subject matter could work. I think they're looking at the subject
Probably
matter
right.
in a way that isn't like, yeah, a story about like one of the greatest composers of all time. That's a very interesting like subject matter, as well as like he was one of the greatest, most influential composers of all time. Wrote for like television, movies,
Yeah.
opera.
But they don't even go into like anything with his writing process,
because
that's
anything. Not what the story's about, and that's why I feel like this is sort of a limited view of who this guy is. But
the most interesting thing about him, I feel, is like his creative work he produced, and they really don't go much into detail. It's more just like, I love this lady a lot.
Yeah.
Like, okay. Why are you fucking cheating?
Why are you cheating on her so often?
All the time. Why are you so horny, bro?
Yeah.
Calm down.
Yeah. Live your truth, man.
Live your truth and stop and let her go, or love your wife. I don't know. Pick one. You know?
I also feel like the movie, and I think this is done purposefully, the movie really feels like we are from the perspective of like a third party. Like, we are not Leonard Bernstein, you know? We're just like another person viewing this relationship from like an arm's distance in my half. So it's like, it's really hard to sort of just go like, yes, like I really truly feel like I went through the same, thing that he went through. It's like, no, it really just feels like we're like friends with them and we saw their relationship, play out.
It has that distance to it.
Yeah.
And I think it's definitely trying to go for something. I don't know if it fully works for the story at hand. I think it's just the way the story is being told, it doesn't.
But how about that makeup though?
I mean, I didn't really see too much except for him in old man makeup once. I was like, oh.
You saw him in old man makeup in your half of the movie? Like near the end of your half of the movie?
No, the very beginning.
Really?
Yeah.
He's doing an interview.
He's doing an interview.
That's how the movie ends as well.
I was going to say it has to end. Like, I saw the beginning, and I know I saw the end of this movie. You know what I mean? And that's the thing with this movie. It's so by the like nothing surprised me except the camera angles. Like that's literally the only thing that surprised me.
Yeah, I also really dug that as well. I thought it was interestingly composed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
But let me say this before I get into my half the movie. My quick review is I thought I was like, do I not like Oscar movies anymore? Like, what's going on? When I saw this,
damn, this poisoned your view of
like I was
good
like
film.
it
and you have seen other Oscar movies.
I think I was like, is it just because like I'm just done with like movies that are prestige and higher. Catering to a higher audience, highbrow sort of thing. Like, can I not process that anymore? And it's like, no, no, it's not me, it's you, is what I said.
It's nice.
Which is honestly what she should have done. Felicia.
Yeah, Felicia
should have done to old Lenny over here.
Yeah, it's just like, let him go, cut him loose. Yeah. Your life will be better for it.
Probably.
So tell me about the movie then.
Okay, so anyway, I did not complete the quote because it's not funny if I didn't complete the quote. But it says, a work of art does not answer questions, it provokes them, and its essential meaning is in the tension between the contradictory answers. I think that's honestly a really cool quote.
And also is, again, I feel like the best way of describing what this movie is.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. But I don't know if there's really any answers. I guess in my mind, it provokes questions as to more why the movie was made and less of like, why this guy do what he did.
Right. But that's not even like that. Like, I don't even think we get that, Like, we don't even get like that aspect of him either.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. And
anyway, so the first thing is old Leonard playing on a piano and a film, and he pans over and it reveals that a film crew is filming him.
Oh.
And it's like kind of a boring angle. Like, they're just shooting him in front of the piano. I'm like, this is kind of lame. And then he's just like, I miss Felicia. I miss her terribly, and also I see her ghost.
What?
I'm paraphrasing.
Okay.
But basically, that's what he says.
Okay.
I see her ghost. I miss her dearly. Who's important to me. Anyway, that's it. But then we get.
Wait, how old is he? He's old right now.
He's
right?
old. Okay. But then we cut to one of my favorite shots in the whole movie is right at the beginning. I was like, oh man, we're in. It's gonna be great. So the movie. This is. At the beginning,
it's like widescreen
color.
Yeah.
Now it's in a little tiny box, black and white, and you just see what looks like the outline of a curtain. And
ooh, interesting.
And you see kind of like movement in the bottom right corner, and it's him picking up the phone and getting the news that the person who was supposed to work at the New York Philharmonic today, the conductor, is sick. So now he gets a chance to really conduct and show what he's got.
Right.
And he's very calm, and he gets very excited. He opens up the windows shine up. He has a partner in bed, and this is my favorite part. He gets up and he goes, "Yeah, got him, boy!" And then he rolls over to his partner, pats him on the butt on like bongos, and then rolls off. And then the camera follows him. It sweeps up, shows that he's in like a studio set, like very old 30s style filming of like the old musicals type situation.
Yeah. The camera's like following him.
It goes out, pans backwards, shows that he's basically sleeping in the theater he's going to conduct in.
Whoa.
It's really cool.
That's cool.
And yeah, there he fucking does it. He plays it. He does it great. The guy,
the butt or the
he banged those bongos. Let me tell you, his buddy David, his bongos. I'm sure he's in your half.
Nope.
There's no David.
Nope.
All right.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. So yeah, he does a great performance. The guy comes out and is like, "Hey, this is Leonard Bernstein. This is Leonard Bernstein." He announced to the whole crowd. He's like, "This is his first." He had 20 minutes to get ready because our main conductor went out sick. But we broadcast it, and let's all give him a big round of applause for this. Doing a great job at Carnegie Hall.
Wow.
And then
he's sleeping in Carnegie Hall.
It seems that way. It also could be a trick of editing.
I think it's probably a trick of editing. Yeah.
But it felt like I was like, dude, they got places you could sleep in there. Anyway, very cool shot.
Cool.
Now he's
off to a great start.
Off to a great start.
Ethan now is like, you know what? I do like Oscar movies.
Well, at this point, I'm like, I'm in. This is what I'm talking about. Let's go.
Yeah. Played you like a bongo drum. This movie.
Indeed, he did.
Yeah.
Indeed, he did. He also didn't even say hi to me. Like that. I was left very confused by the end.
Yeah.
So then he's talking to some dudes. They're all talking about how he's going to be a big hit. You meet his partner or lover or whatever. I believe he's a he does the clarinet, I believe. I could be wrong.
Okay.
He does the clarinet. He plays in the orchestra, played by Matt Bomer. His name's David Oppenheim, which I think is funny because Oppenheimer
is up for Best Picture. And that was released at the same time as Barbie.
Yeah. Anyway, cut to Carey Mulligan's character, who is Felicia. She is going to a party where a bunch of folks are singing in the living room. It's a big, ruckus at this party in kind of, I assume, upstate New York. It doesn't seem very like in the weeds, I guess. What do you call it? In the city?
In the weeds? in the city? Sure.
And so, yeah, she goes there, and Sarah Silverman's there. And Sarah Silverman is playing Leonard's sister. I did not know this until she said, "I'm his sister." And then she's
I've got a vagina. She's also doing her work.
Yeah,
she's doing her stand-ups.
That was the part that kind of took me out of the movie. But she had great makeup, so I was like right back in.
Yeah.
So then, she's talking about all the people that are there, and it's funny because she's like, Betty and Adolph are right, and I'm like, man, you don't hear that first name anymore.
Yeah, Betty. Never hear that anymore.
Never hear Betty anymore.
Yeah.
It's like Riverdale.
That's right. Who's Adolf?
It's just some guy.
Oh, he shows up. He's like Adolf Hitler.
No, although Adolf Hitler would approve of his looks.
Yeah,
that's all I gotta say.
Yeah.
So then Lenny hears her name because her full name is like Montenegro Cohen, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
But no one calls her that.
Right.
And he's like, "That's a beautiful name." He starts playing the name. He's all, he's like, "Oh, I'm so fancy," and then they immediately hit it off. Turns out she's studying acting. He's like, "Oh, you're really similar to me. You're in the arts. We both immigrated. We're both Jewish. I'm like super into you," and they hit it off. She's like, "Do you want to come like to my rehearsal, like where I rehearse at theater?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Sure, I guess." So they get on the bus. They go to the theater where she works at. And
this is empty.
It's empty.
Yeah.
But what I really liked about this, it's hard to convey in a podcast form, but the way this movie was shot and the way the dialogue was working, and just the aspect ratio and all that, it felt like you're watching an older movie made in the 40s.
Right.
It has that same kind of like quick dialogue and kind of like, it's hard to really describe, but the dialogue is very similar to it, where people are taking a beat. They're kind of flirting back and forth, and you go, "Oh, I don't know about that. Okay, so you're going to have me read the script? I'm not much of an actor."
Oh, yeah,
It has that same sort of cadence, and I think that was really cool.
It has
really
like a
cool
music
touch.
to it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Like a rhythm.
And it was very, very fun. And I was like, okay, this is very cool. So they get there, they're going to pretend to read a script. And they read a script where he's like a king, and he's spitting with this lady who has a white rose. And he's a terrible actor, but she likes it. And she's doing her lines that she has to read. And she's like, "Well, I like your horse." And there's a line to like kiss. And then they fucking kiss for real.
Whoa,
and it's like, dude.
crazy.
And I'm like, she's so smooth, like getting a script out and being like, "There's a kissing line in here."
She knew.
She knew.
Yeah.
She's a smooth criminal. But then this guy named Joseph appears, and he turns on the lights.
And he's got a Technicolor Dreamcoat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then the movie changed. It turned into a different aspect ratio. And he's like, "Oh, I just thought you guys would like the lights. Anyway, there you go."
Thanks for ruining it, Joseph.
Yeah, but they seem to still get along.
Sure.
And then there's a weird line she says that basically says, "Don't forget, you are a man," which I thought was a weird thing to say, and that's like how the scene ends.
I don't know what that means.
And then she says that, and it cuts to her walking and being in front of like a huge crowd and taking a bow. And she's, you see,
she's an actor.
She's an actor. She's clearly having success. She bows and then rises up old Lenny, and he is, looking at a huge crowd, also successful, showing that they're basically both successful people.
Right.
Sarah Silverman comes to hang out with Felicia backstage. He's like, "You should come hang out with us. We got some guys." She's like trying to get her to like get with other guys, and she's like, "Oh no, I'm gonna go meet Leonard in the park." And she's like, "Oh, okay, whatever. That guy's a loser." It's kind of what's implied.
Right.
So she goes and meets him. They talk for a while, and then I guess she goes and meets not really his real family, it seems, but seems to be kind of like his art family. There's a maestro there named Maestro Kruvitsky, I believe. He's a Russian guy.
Okay.
By the way, I don't know if I mentioned this, but Leonard's also a Russian immigrant as well. Like, that's where his family immigrated from.
Oh, okay. You did not mention that, but okay, good to know.
So, and the Russian guy's all about him. He's like, "You're doing so good. You could be the first great American conductor, but my life and my work are clean. You got to keep it clean. You got to be a good guy."
Oh,
and all
I see,
stuff.
I
And
see.
I'm like, "Oh, okay." So he's like probably catching on the fact that he maybe knows his sexual history. Maybe, I don't know. But he's like, "Oh, well, they'll never give an orchestra to a Bernstein, but a Burns maybe." So he's like trying to say like hide your Jewish identity.
Right.
And the maestro also talked about like, when I was in Moscow, like I would ride the train all the way to Moscow, but I wouldn't get off because I wasn't allowed there as a Jewish person. But I would be so happy to play music in the train that it didn't matter.
Wow.
So he's like, you got to make sacrifices just because you love something so much. And he warns him, you got to make these sacrifices if you do want to become popular. And Felicia's like, here's this, and says, I want to see all the things you want to get that he wants you to give up. And he's like, "Oh, well, we can't just leave." And she's like, "Sure we can." She grabs him. They run into the house and immediately cuts into a clean shot of like a musical theater.
Oh,
it's a very cool shot.
Man, I wish I could see this stuff. This sounds amazing.
The first half, I was like, all right, this is going to be a great movie. This is going to be great. Because I thought they were going to kind of stay in one time period, maybe.
No, they're going to see his whole life. The movie opened with him as an old man.
But maybe that could have just been reflecting on that one particular moment in his life. I didn't know. I didn't know where it was going to go. There was still hope, just like Leonard was.
Leonard's full of hope here.
Full of hope. So they basically watched like a whole musical in front of him with a bunch of guys in sailor suits dancing. And she's like, "This is amazing. Why would you ever want to give this up?" And he's like, "Oh, it's not serious music."
Oh, what song? Do you know what the play is? Is like,
I do not know off the top of my head. I apologize.
It's fine. It's okay.
And then they watch. So then one guy does like a little solo dance, and clearly like
he's very hot.
He's very hot. And Leonard's interested, and he's like really, really into it. And you can see this look on Felicia's face that like,
he must really like this show.
What's going on with this guy? Was there something? I think I see what's going on here.
Yeah. He must really like playing bongo drums.
He's got some really bongable ass cheeks, let me tell you. And he's like, "Come on out here, Lenny." And then Lenny is immediately into a sailor suit as well, dancing and doing a great little jig. And Felicia's really into this. She's really supportive and like, this is awesome. And she kind of joins in, is going to kiss him. But then a whole bunch of people show up and they get pulled away. And they all start dancing with each other. And I'm like, this represents work, bro. Work's going to be coming the way of your relationship, bro. That's what this metaphor is.
Yeah. Well, it's not just work. It's appreciation from the masses.
That's probably it. True.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's kind of the end of that, and then it cuts to them in what I thought was in bed, but they're actually on the floor. After some sex, and they and he's like, "Let's play a game where
let's play bongos."
I need you to flip over for me. It's gonna be weird, all right. But I gotta say, let's get to it, boy.
Woo! Anyway, so they're gonna do a thing.
Yeah, let's play, a game where we tell each other what we're envious of. And she's like, "Okay, you want to go first?" He's like, which is totally a thing for him, just to be like, "I want to vent things, but I don't want to be weird about it."
Let's make a game around it.
When I was a boy, I used to have dreams where I would kill my father.
Jesus Christ!
Then I would wake up from it and I would fantasize about it because he was so cruel. And she looks at him and is just like, "You really don't know how much you need me, do you?"
Jeez.
Clearly, he's damaged.
Damn.
So then they go meet up with his old partner, David, the guy who plays clarinet. And he's like, "Hey, David, this is my
So
this is my wife."
Do you see him play clarinet, or is that some kind of euphemism?
No, I don't know.
He's into woodwinds.
Well, Lenny's into percussion, as you can tell.
That's right. So clean that spit valve.
Gotta go in real deep, baby. Get all that spit out of there.
Okay.
Is this too much for you, Mike?
No, I think that's all I've got.
Oh, okay.
I got no more jokes about this. So he shows up.
So he meets up, and he's like, "Oh, this is your wife, huh? Oh, all right. Cool.
They're married?
I believe they're married at this point.
Wow.
Or if not, at least partner. And he's like introducing with their partner. I'm not gonna swear on it. So don't come at me, Cinema Sins. The other half sins. There's a whole other podcast like,
sins.
how many times I fucked up this movie that I saw half of?
It watched once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So David seems kind of nervous about this because they offered him like, "You want to come out for a drink?" He's like, "Yeah, I guess I'll go with you guys." But
yeah.
I don't know if Felicia knows. I don't know any of their
history.
I don't know any of this dynamic. Like, they didn't go into any of it, and I don't know if they ever really will.
Nope.
Okay, cool. Well, yeah, David doesn't appear in your half, so.
Nope, no.
So then, boom, time jump. Bernstein is now 37 years old.
Wow, that's a fast time jump.
That's a big jump, right?
That's like 15, 20 years.
I know.
Jeez.
And so he's now in the limelight. He's popular. He's literally, there's an announcer on the TV that's announcing all the things he's done. He's really prominent. He did music for like On the Waterfront at this point.
Mm-hmm.
He's a parent now. And it's another cool shot similar to the opening where it pans over and shows that they're in their house talking and the audio's going. But what that actually is a whole film crew on the other side of the room where they sit down and do the interview remotely.
Right.
And so they
over Zoom.
Yeah, over Zoom. Yeah, it's kind of wild they had Zoom back then.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Yeah.
So they start with the interview, and the first one of the things that the interviewee asks is like, "Hey, Lenny, so like, obviously, it's a lot of work doing everything you do. So what do you classify yourself?" He's like, "Oh, I classify myself as a musician." And it's like, "Hey, Felicia, you ever have trouble keeping up with Lenny's activities?" And she's like, "No, I mean, I got my own activities, And they're like, "Yeah, you're a very accomplished actor yourself. Like, you're both like a power couple, basically."
Right.
And he says, "Hey, Lenny, so is there any personality difference between composer or conductor?" And he's like, "Well, it's kind of the difference between an introvert and an extrovert. A conductor is always talking to people and conducting them and telling them what to do, while a composer sits in their room all by themselves and writes for a long time." And,
yeah.
So balancing the two is like two different parts of me. Sometimes I live a grand inner life and a grand outer life. It means you become kind of a schizophrenic, and that's kind of the end of it. And then the interview cuts off.
Interesting.
So I think that's kind of where the movie's trying to go, where it's like, okay, look, wants to live a life of like, he loves his wife, but also he's very horny gay. Like, he's got to fuck dudes, right?
Yeah.
And that's cool, but he's caught between the two. He wants both.
Right.
And throughout the movie, he constantly laments that he's like, "I'm not a good composer." And I feel like the composer is the introverted part, which is maybe his wife. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of the metaphor they're trying to draw. Don't know how it really works.
The thing that like you learn later on too is like he is willing to live in the limelight because he gets so much energy from it, and he prefers that to like living a normal life as like a husband and father, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think that's the other thing is like he loves being like a conductor. You really do see him conduct more than compose in this movie as well, which it's also just like more like theatrically.
Yeah, it's more visually interesting.
Yeah,
guy
exactly.
sitting there writing, like, it's boring as hell.
You see that once in my half of the movie, but yeah, it's like so. I think it is a thing of like he ultimately just wants to like be surrounded by people who love him because later on, Felicia mentions you don't love yourself.
Oh, dude.
So you need other people to give you. And I'm like, damn, he needs to see a therapist or something, man.
They didn't exist back then.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, if he had gone to a therapist, they would have fucking tossed him into a mental institution. Yeah, lobotomized him. Yeah.
But he made such good work, so they wouldn't do that. They'd do something else.
Yeah, that's
They'd
true.
hook him up.
Conversion
to a
camp.
Yeah, there you go. Real good. Other, things. So he goes outside after the interview and meets David, and David has a wife now.
Oh, good for David.
And he has a kid, and he sees their baby, and he's like, "Oh, who's this?" Clearly haven't seen in a while. He's like, "Oh, your baby's so cute. Can I tell them a secret?" He leans in.
I played your dad's butt like bongo drums. Oh.
He says, "Can I tell you a secret?" I slept with both your parents.
Whoa! To the kid?
But it's a baby. You can't understand.
To the child?
To the baby.
And the kid's like, wowie!
Awooga! Ooga gaga! And
wow.
It's funny because both the parents laugh like, "Ha, yeah, that is true." But he backs up and says,
"But I'm reining it in. I'm reining it in."
In the most comedic way I've ever. It was just so weird.
What did you think about this performance by Bradley Cooper?
Uneven. In some moments it's really good.
Yeah,
and subtle. In some moments it feels like he's playing a character. Obviously,
he's like doing almost an impression in moments.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not really embodying.
And I understand. I haven't seen a lot of like Leonard Bernstein videos about how he actually acts, but the juxtaposition between the two, I think he's trying to make it so it's like, look at my two different lives. I'm very contemplative, and I'm also very
outgoing
and extroverted.
Yeah,
and I think he's trying to show that, but as I mentioned before,
now Carey Mulligan.
Carey Mulligan's really good.
Oh my god,
Carey Mulligan's really
she's
good.
so fucking good in this movie, and like effortlessly good in this movie.
Yeah, like I forget she's acting.
Yeah,
she's
truly
playing a great character.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's super crazy. Like she was in Promising Young Woman, right?
I believe so. Yeah,
that's her.
Yeah,
unrecognizable.
Did not recognize.
Unrecognizable. She was in Saltburn. No, just kidding. Anyway, so yeah, tell me more about this
but
Bernstein.
There's a moment afterwards where he's walking with David alone because they're both walking to the same place, and he just kind of just gets sad, and then he hugs David, kisses him on the forehead, and this is a moment where he does this very public display of affection in a very public area, and he looks around and says, "You see those people?" And I'm like, "Oh, here it comes." He's gonna be like,
They'll never accept us.
They'll never accept us. But no, he says, they're like, "Is that Leonard Bernstein? I see him on the TV all the time, but his ears are so weird. Huh, that's interesting." And I'm like, it's a weird thing to be like upset about. Like, you're probably facing a bunch of prejudices, and you're just like, no, I hope I'm recognized well.
Possibly this is his way of
I guess, and it wasn't anything overt. He just kissed him on the forehead. So I mean, like, people would be like, whatever, guys are just being guys.
Yeah. Dudes being dudes. Dudes kissing on the forehead.
Yeah, it used to be that way back in the day. It was okay.
That's true. Kiss on the lips.
Even that was probably fine.
Probably. Dudes slapping on the butt. You can still do that.
Yeah,
at a football game.
True football games.
If you don't slap a guy in the butt in a football game, you're gonna be insulted.
It's accurate. It's accurate. Yeah. You're like, why don't you like me, bro? So then we got Felicia and Sarah Silverman laying around chatting.
Laying around.
They're in like a picnic. Everyone's having a picnic or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I should have set the scene.
It's all good.
They're laying around fucking there's a
playing
whole other
bongo
thing.
drums. Yeah.
So then Sarah mentions, like, I realize that, like, there's a price for, like, being in his orbit. And Felicia's like, yeah, there's actually a lot of sacrifice. But, like, if there's any actual sacrifice to my career or anything, I'll just disappear. And there's a shot of him conducting and standing, and she's standing in this very large shadow of him. I think it's a really cool shot.
That's cool.
And she's watching, like, being supportive, but obviously, like, her career is not taking off as much as his.
Yeah.
But he's always so happy to see his wife after a show. Like, he genuinely shows that he loves her, but it seems like she's clearly kind of like hollow happy for him.
Right. She wants to also be, successful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Time jump again.
How old are they now? 50?
It must be because Lenny's got gray hair now. Wow. Got a grown child.
So those are his kids.
Yes.
Okay.
It's cut now. The movie's in color now. It's still in the square aspect ratio,
but I think it's a little whiter, right?
It's a little bit wider.
Yeah.
But it is in color now. But
did you go like, whoa, what's going on?
Yeah. I wrote like, wow, the movie's finally in color 48 minutes later. So I guess his daughter, played by Maya Hawke, is running around. She's getting a job at some place called Amberson this summer, and she doesn't even ask her dad, I don't think, but goes up to her mom's like, Dad says it's okay, and she's like, all right, then do what you want. Go get that job. And Felicia's like lamenting to like random people at this party that like he should be out there composing. He's all cooped up in here. He should be doing something.
Yeah. Why is he cooped up?
I guess he's not cooped up. He's out partying all the time.
Oh.
So he's like, she wants him to like sit down and actually write music.
Oh, I see.
So then,
where's he partying at? Just like places?
He's partying at his house. Like there's a party literally going on.
Oh,
like,
at the
right
house.
Now.
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
It's a big house. So he's rich now. He's famous.
Right.
So then this guy named Tommy appears. I don't know if you've seen Tommy at all. He's got long, dark hair.
I think I see Tommy.
He seems very interested in Lenny. He's like, "Oh, hey, Lenny," and Lenny's like, "Oh, yeah, I like. You want to come upstairs? I'm gonna go have a smoke. You want to come with me?"
Mm-hmm.
And Felicia's looking around like, "Where's Lenny? I want to talk to him." And then Lenny is talking to Tommy. Is like, "Tommy, your problem is you're stuck on the radio and you need to be on television because you're a little hottie." I paraphrased.
Sure.
And then he gives him a little smooch and they start kissing. And Felicia walks in and is like, "Fix your hair. You're getting sloppy." And then she like takes him off and leaves.
Your ears look too big.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, she's like, this is obviously something that he does all the time.
Yeah, she's used to it by this point. Yeah.
And then he does an interview on the farm, and
there's cows everywhere.
There's cows everywhere. I don't know if it's farm or estate, whatever. And the guy interviewing him was like, I thought it was a journalist at first, but it's someone who's actually there to write his book.
Oh, like a biography.
Like an autobiography, I think. I don't know.
It would be a biography, not autobiography.
You could have a ghostwriter.
I guess you're right. That's true.
So I don't know. I don't know how it came out.
Yeah.
And Lenny says, like, music is the most important thing I can do in this world. Like, so many other people contribute things, but this is what I do. And the interviewer goes through like a whole list of all the things he's done, and he's just like, when you add it up, it's not a very long list. Like, I haven't done enough.
Wow.
So he's already old and like lamenting this. And honestly, I agree with him. You haven't done a whole lot according to this movie. You just see all the riches,
Yeah.
I guess ineffective montages then, and displaying how much work he's done. So anyway, he's like, well, it's important, even if you don't have a long list of accomplishments, that people understand like the good accomplishments you did and like why you did it.
Right.
And he just starts going like, I feel like the world's on the verge of collapse. I find it very difficult to think that where my existence is even worth talking about in a book.
Damn.
I love music so much. It keeps me grounded. I love people so much. It's hard for me to be alone, which is why it's hard to be a composer. I have to believe in the remote corner of my soul that there's a way out. I'm like, is this therapy now?
Yeah, right. It's like
he's
finally talking to somebody about what's going on.
Of course, he's just like, oh, I'm going to write this down.
Yeah, we're going to put this all in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cut to him directing a choir. Felicia's listening in, but so is Tommy. Tommy's there. Tommy's there hanging out listening. That guy's not on the radio right now.
Yeah.
In fact, Lenny brings Tommy to what I think is like their summer getaway house or something. It doesn't seem like the estate they had the party in, but I could be wrong.
Probably at different estates. Yeah, he's rich.
He's rich. And brings Tommy along and gets like a dog and all this stuff. And Felicia's like, oh, Lenny's back. Okay, well, Jenny, his daughter, his adult daughter, Maya Hawk, is upset. She's heard some gossip about you. You better go talk to her. He's like, what gossip? He's like, I don't know what gossip, but. And he's like, well, I think she's old enough. I can tell her. And she's like, don't you tell her. I made the decision that we weren't going to tell her. And he's like, we made a decision that we weren't going to tell her. And she's like, well, I forbid it. Don't do it.
I forbid it.
I forbid it. Don't you dare tell the truth to her.
Right. That he's gay.
Yes. I assume.
I'm assuming. Yeah.
No one wants to mention it.
Sure.
So then he goes.
You're from Russia. Don't tell her.
Don't tell her you're actually Russian.
Middle of the Cold War.
Oh, man. What if that was
Yeah, exactly.
So he goes to her, and she's very happy to see him. And he just says, like, so, these rumors, yeah, well, you know what it is? Doesn't address what they are. Doesn't even mention
what the rumors are, yeah.
He says, whatever they are, it's jealousy. When I was a kid, someone brought a pistol to school to try and kill me. And that's because they were jealous. And no reaction. Just like, wow, that's really crazy, like, oh, wow.
Whoa.
And, I don't know, but, like, it's got to be jealousy. People are jealous of me all the time, of my fame. They're trying to get me. So they're going to have all these rumors. They're not true. And she's like, so they're not, you're saying these rumors are not true? He's like, no, darling, they're not true. And then he looks down for a second, like, maybe I should
tell her. Yeah.
But then he doesn't.
Oh.
Doesn't say shit. And then he's talking to his wife and is like, I thought it was a good idea for Tommy to come out for the weekend, Jenny likes him, my daughter, you like him, I thought I like him, it's cool, I just brought him down. And that's the end of my half.
So this is a wide shot, right?
Yes.
Really wide shot. Don't even fucking see their faces.
Yeah.
So I was like, I think this is Leonard Bernstein.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very far away.
It's so far away. I just wrote down like long, natural wide shots with obscured faces. He says Jamie is coming, and the wife seems upset about it. Leonard has a project to finish. And their convo seems charged, but I'm not sure with what. That's what I've sort of written down. Is like there's this sort of thing. Where
honestly,
like,
same.
Yeah. He's just,
Honestly, I don't know.
He's just like, somebody's coming, and she's like, oh, okay. And
I guess
he's like,
she just doesn't like.
I don't think I don't think she likes having to fucking like fight for the attention of her husband.
Yeah, I guess that's a pretty good reason.
Yeah.
You know what? Fair enough.
So then apparently, Leonard Bernstein has a long scene where he's like writing a piece called Mass. It's something he was wanting to get done, and finally it is done. He announces it's done, and his wife jumps in a pool and stays underwater. She's like holding her breath underwater, and it really puts a whole like damper on the whole like mood of him being done with his composition.
Yeah.
But I'm like, why did she do that?
Why is she sad?
What's going on? So then they go to a theater where they watch a performance of a piece, and so it's like Leonard Bernstein, his wife Felicia, and then a guy, and I'm assuming it's what's his name? Bob?
Tommy?
Tommy.
Bob. If I find you real sexy, Bob.
So Tommy's sitting next to, so it's like Tommy, Leonard, Felicia. And then they're watching the performance, and Felicia like looks over and sees that Tommy and Leonard are like holding hands while they're watching the performance. And Felicia's like very upset about this, understandably.
Fair.
And I'm just like, oh yeah, that's not cool, man. That's not cool at all.
That ain't so good.
That isn't great. And so then we see he's like partying after like the performance is all done. Everyone's like celebrating, having a good time, loving him. Sort of similar to that thing where like, you know, he wants to embrace Felicia, but he's being pulled away by the crowd. However, in this situation, not even pulled away. It's just like he just gets to hang out with the crowd, and Felicia leaves, goes to where they're staying, like in a hotel, because I think they had to travel to see this performance. And she leaves his pillow and his slippers and toothbrush outside the door. Like, do not come in here. You're not allowed in my bedroom anymore, because clearly you're cheating on me with this guy, like fucking right in front of me.
You can't have like fucking both. Like, she's extremely tolerant.
Deeply, yeah.
It's just like,
and it's like,
she obviously is like, well, this is him. He's gonna get his thing on. But now it's like he's literally inviting his like partners into their lives like a lot, and also like, now it's emotional cheating as well.
100%, which is way worse. Well, they're both terrible. Like, one's not worse than the other, but it's also like it's right in front of her, and it's like this was something they would be able to like celebrate together, which was like a piece that he had finished that was like widely regarded, and now it's like not even something he's celebrating with her. Now he's celebrating it with this random guy sitting next to her.
Yeah,
you know,
that sucks.
So that's really sad. And then we cut, and it's Thanksgiving, and they're in some kind of like apartment high rise in the middle of like New York.
Sure.
And he's coming out from a doorway, and he says,
Who abandoned Snoopy in the vestibule?
Oh, God.
Who abandoned Snoopy?
Sorry, Daddy.
I mean, it's his day.
you cannot abandon Snoopy in the vestibule. He's making a big deal about the fact that Snoopy was abandoned.
I feel like I've heard of this scene on
You
Twitter.
have heard of this
Yes.
scene. This is the one thing I knew about this movie, other than the makeup, was that there's a scene where he gets very upset that someone abandoned Snoopy in the vestibule.
It's pretty cartoony, right? It's pretty weird.
It's pretty over the top. I loved it. I thought this was very funny.
Yeah.
So yeah, and
it's just, I feel like it just feels so out of place with most of the film is pretty serious.
Up until this point.
And
yeah. Actually, it's a much needed bit of levity right before a very major scene is about to happen.
Fair.
So he arrives. Apparently, Nina's upset because Leonard almost missed Thanksgiving. And at this point, I don't know who Nina is. I also don't know what his wife's name is yet. So I was like, is Nina his wife? Like, I don't think she's upset about like not missing Thanksgiving. Nina's one of his daughters. And so he's like walking around. It almost feels like what's the movie Uncut Gems, because everyone's just like talking over each other and like walking around, and like somebody hands him like a carton of milk, and he just takes it and takes like a big old swig out of it, and then he like lights a cigarette, and he's walking around with the milk and a cigarette, and then he goes into his...
You're like relatable character.
I'm like, yeah, man, totally. I get it. And so then he walks into the bedroom where his wife is, and he's got like a carton of milk, and he's got a cigarette in his hand, and then he pours himself some alcohol to chase the milk down or something.
Sometimes you gotta, that milk can be curdling.
Exactly. So then he sits down, and it's one long take with the two of them, and you see in the background through the window the parade, the Thanksgiving Day parade going by, and they're sort of sitting there, and it's clear he's just like, that was a very funny stunt you did, just leaving all my stuff out in front of the door. That was very funny, like he doesn't really know how to broach the subject, because he knows she's upset, but he doesn't know how to respond to that.
Yeah.
And so she says,
yeah, there is a saying in Chile about never standing under a bird that's full of shit. And I've just been living under that fucking bird.
Damn.
She says, like, he wants to be tortured and famous and push away his obligations of family, including her, because deep down he knows that anger drives him and that he doesn't love himself, basically. Like, he needs to put himself in these positions because he's ultimately unhappy. Yeah. And it's this interesting thing the movie does. It does a good, like, job of this, where it's like she doesn't hate that he's gay or that he has, an affection towards men. It's that he's being so shitty about it. Like, like he's not being honest with her or himself.
Yeah,
basically,
exactly.
About what he wants.
Like, he won't even really confront it with his partner, really. The partner's probably just around because it's like, ooh, rich person, yay.
Probably, or maybe he's got a good dick. Maybe he likes that fucking Leonard Bernstein.
It's his Lenny.
But yeah, it's just a good, like, sort of moment where it's like she's angry, one, because he's like cheated and lied and all this stuff. But she's also so angry because it's like she can see how much pain he's in, basically. Yes. And so she's angry for two different reasons. What else? Oh, and then he brings this thing up, and I'm like, wait, what the fuck? I didn't really like write down a ton of information here because I thought this was going to be addressed in your half of the movie. Apparently, she used to be married, and her husband died. And
I think that might have came out once.
Okay,
maybe.
So apparently she used to be married. Her husband died, and he was there.
I don't remember the dying part though.
And he was there at the hospital making sure she was okay, and then he married her basically because he loved her so much because he was there for her. And it's this thing where it's like he clearly is like so in love with her, but it's like he loves her so deeply just like as a person, as like a being, and is there to protect her and make sure she's okay. And that's basically the full extent of it,
Yeah, that could be true, yeah.
But yeah, this was the thing where I was like, holy fucking shit, wait, like an entire life has occurred, like, before my half of the movie. I was hoping that this would be filled in.
Not really.
Yeah,
no.
That's fine. And then, as their argument ends, again, you can see the parade outside the window. Mm-hmm. Big old fucking Snoopy balloon right outside. And he's like, who fucking let me in the vestibule? All right, so... next scene.
It's his holiday. I love that.
It's his day. It's Snoopy's day. Who left him in the vestibule? So next scene, it's a shot from behind Leonard Bernstein. He's, I think, speaking with students, and he says that an artist must be free. He cannot be held back by any constraints. Mm-hmm. And this is, I think, sort of establishing that he is no longer going to be there. Him and Felicia are going to have a separation, essentially. Where, like, Felicia's going to go off and date people. He's going to go off and be with Tommy. I'm getting there.
I get it. It's a different Power Ranger. I know.
It's true. So, his wife is like shooting something. I don't know what it is, but she's like basically like directing it now. Like, she's so powerful. She's like this highly sought after actor. She's about to go off and do stage performances. And then we cut back to Leonard Bernstein. He's fucking doing coke. He's fucking drunk.
Oh man. I was gonna say this guy's a pure guy so far. I haven't seen him doing any drugs or anything.
He's doing crazy amounts of coke. Right. He does coke, and then he like and then he like hands a coke to a guy, and the guy does coke like next to him.
Hands a coke to a guy makes it sound like
it's like soda.
Here's a Coca-Cola, bro. And I'm like, dude, fucking crazy.
He's doing coke. He's getting drunk. He calls Maya Hawke on the phone while he's drunk and high. And then he's just like, I love you so much. You mean so much to me. And he's like, I want to bring my boyfriend home. I want you to meet him. He's like, he's not even my type. He's a little leprechaun boy. Apparently he's not into twins.
That's a lot of quote.
Yeah, seriously. And Maya Hawke's like, Dad, I don't want you to be talking to me about this. And again, it's like, it's clear that it just hurts because it's like, it's like your parents breaking up and then telling you that they're dicking around with somebody else.
Yeah,
it's like it's hard to hear that kind of shit.
Yeah.
She's just like, Dad, please, I don't want to hear this. And then he's like, I love you so much. Put your mom on the phone. Like, it's clear like he just loves Felicia, but it's like he wants to live the life that, he wants to live his life basically, and he doesn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
He's an introvert and extrovert. He doesn't know what to do. His wife has been going on dates. She meets up with her daughter, Maya Hawke, and Sarah Silverman, and talks about what's been going on. And she went on a date with somebody who wound up being a gay man, asking if she could hook him up with another guy. Oh. And so she's like, I clearly have a type.
Yeah, I was going to say. Or like, she's like, oh, now people think I have a service now.
Yeah, exactly. And Maya Hawke is clearly upset that she's being put in this sort of position. Like, she's like, I don't, because also she's sort of like being like a second mom too, because she's keeping information from like Nina, the youngest daughter and stuff. So she's being put in a really rough position. So then there's a big performance. This is, I believe, the scene that everyone's, well, not everyone, Bradley Cooper's been talking about. It's one unbroken take, which is not unbroken. They keep cutting around, of him conducting in a church. And he's so fucking sweaty. What I wrote down, he is so sweaty. His face is so red. And I'm like, wow, this is a really good makeup. Because the makeup's pretty good here.
Yeah, it must be sticking on there. Yeah,
it's doing a really good job. It looks like he's really sweating. And yeah, he's like performing, and it's like clearly like one of the most important moments of his life. He's conducting. It's this big, grand, sweeping shot of him conducting. It's big, big, big. And then the camera slowly like tracks over, and we see Felicia's there. Felicia has arrived, and he sees her. And the first thing he does right after he's done conducting is run over to her and like hugs her and kisses her.
That's what he did at every other performance.
Yeah, it's clear he's missed her, and she's missed him. And he's like, "You didn't have to come. You didn't need to come." And she's like, "Of course I was gonna come." And he's getting her dress all sweaty because he's sweating a shit ton, so he's ruining her dress. And yeah, it's just like she's like, "I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be here for you." And then it's a wonderful moment, and he goes back and he's like, taking a bow in front of his grand audience, and then we cut, and they're in the hospital. And they're just in like a waiting room together. And it's all very funny. They're like, "Oh, what are we gonna do for lunch?" And, "Oh, did you see that funny thing on television?" And then the doctor comes in, and it's one take. Doctor comes in, rolls over to Felicia, very serious, and he says, "You have a tumor in your left breast, and it might have metastasized into your lung. We're gonna do the best we can, but it doesn't look good."
Damn.
It's all one take, and it's like, it's so great because it's like, obviously they had to do this take probably like multiple times, so it's like starts out very light and fun, and then you just see Carey Mulligan's so fucking good in this because it's like you see her like taking the information in but not accepting it. Like it's almost like she's hearing about someone else, and then you see he's talking to her about her, and then she's sort of like doesn't believe, like she's going through every stage of grief right in front of you without saying anything.
Yep.
It's so fucking good.
Her face is just so good at expressing little tiny details. And just ways you can pick up.
It's all very minute. It's not over the top. It's very good.
Not like Bradley Cooper.
Not like Bradley Cooper. And it's very heartbreaking. And so then they leave, and they're like, they're gonna get in the car and drive home. But then he's like, "Ooh, let's go to the park together." And so they go to the park, and they sit back to back, and she tries to guess what number he's thinking of. And I believe this is something that happens earlier in the movie that you didn't go into.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Where they sit back to back, and he doesn't
This
tell
is during
her.
the part when they finally like meet each other in the park before he goes and meets like his kind of like musician family, you know,
Right.
like there's a little pre.
I remember you mentioning them going to the park. So I believe this is to show like this is a thing they used to do. Takes them back to when they were young.
Yeah, maybe black and white and square aspect ratio.
Exactly. Now they're in color and slightly less square. So hard cut. So oh my god, this part. It's like, so she's like, they seem like everything's gonna be okay. She's even like smoking, like she's like not taking it super seriously. And also at this point, like, what the fuck are you gonna do? You know?
Yeah.
So and also the doctor's like, "Look, like you'll probably be out for like 2 weeks tops. Once we like, remove the breast, like we're gonna like test it. We'll figure out what we can do." Everything seems like it's hopeful. And then we hard cut. She has no hair. She looks like she's wasting away. I don't know if like Carey Mulligan like lost weight for this role, but she just looks like
super skinny.
Yeah, like it. I'm like, was CG done?
Can't
Like
do makeup. Yeah,
makeup can't take away. You can only add. So it's like something was done, and it's like she doesn't even. She
pulled a
almost
Christian Bale, dude. She's a machinist.
yeah, right. She almost doesn't look recognizable. It's just like, wow. Like for a second you don't know who it is, and then you're like, oh my god, that's her. And it's like heartbreaking because it's like you don't know how long like the time has been. You don't know how immediate this has been. Basically, the deterioration. She has no hair. Treatment's been hard on her. She tries to act normal. They have like company over and they like chat with her about how things are going. And in the middle of like a story, she starts like hacking up and like coughing, and it totally breaks like the light atmosphere that was trying to be created, basically. And that's all she wants. She just wants like a sense of normalcy.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about it sucks about coughing, and it's such a good way to do this in filmmaking, is that like you really can't prevent coughing. It's just gonna happen. It's always gonna be hanging in the air if you're hanging out with anyone trying to ignore a sickness.
Right, exactly. Yeah, coughing and then burping. So then, and they try to cheer her up, but it's just no good. And she says, "I don't want anyone coming over anymore. It's too hard. It's too painful." So then we cut. Leonard Bernstein's on the phone, and you know how before something that gave him so much life and fulfillment was like conducting.
Yep.
being in front of an audience and doing all this stuff, and he's turning down stuff like this now because he can't be without her. He's like, no, I couldn't possibly do it. And the person over the phone, we don't hear that, but it's like, come on, you have to, like, you'll ruin this relationship. And he's like, I've conducted there so many times, like, this is not a big deal. I need to be here for her. And then he hangs up the phone and he closes the door and he picks up a pillow and he just starts screaming into the pillow because it's like, it's killing him that he's turning down something that means so much to him, because it's like he truly can't, like, being away from her in this moment, like the days are numbered,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, also, like, chill out, man. You can conduct other things. You're not dying.
Yeah, but it's also hard because it's like
I know.
I think it's also like he feels bad for feeling upset about it.
That's probably true.
I think that's probably it too. Like, he doesn't like that he feels this way.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what to do with it. He doesn't know what to talk to, basically. So she is deteriorating. Her daughter tries her best to take care of her, but like Carey Mulligan, Felicia can't even like go to the bathroom anymore. She refuses to eat. And it's like her Maya Hawke is like trying to take care of her, and like Carey Mulligan is clearly like upset about that, like embarrassed about the fact that her daughter is having to take care of her and see her in this state.
I don't know. Yeah.
Well, her husband tries as well.
Yeah.
But in moments like this, like, it's like, I don't know. I don't know. It's clear that like
he's also old too, so.
Right, exactly. So it's like it's hard, and it's like a good moment where like Felicia's just like trying to push her away, but also doesn't want to push her too hard because she even knows like days are numbered. Like, I don't want any of these last days to be negative, like I don't want to come across in like a mean way or anything. And then this part was weird. And then she's like cutting Leonard Bernstein's hair. Felicia's cutting his hair, and I'm like, maybe you should just like get somebody over to cut your hair. Maybe it was the thing of like, is this something she's done in the past?
I think it's something she mentioned that she did.
Okay, because maybe this is again to like give her a sense of normalcy. Because I was like, maybe you shouldn't let her do that. But then she's starting to forget things. She's starting to forget like who her doctor is, and she's starting to like be belligerent about taking medicine. So she's clearly like starting to waste away. And then what happens next? Family starts to dance, but then they all end up hugging and crying. And then Felicia's in bed. She's clearly going to die. Like, obviously, this is going to be like her last moments on Earth. And Leonard Bernstein comes in wearing like, like a doctor's getup and is like, hello, patient, how's it going? And then he sees her and he's like, oh, shit. And then he gets in bed with her and like they cuddle. And she's like,
that's the tone of this movie where you're like, should I be laughing? Okay.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I don't know if this is the right moment.
The right moment. Okay.
And he like cuddles up next to her, and like, goddamn, Carey Mulligan's so good in this scene. It looked like she was gonna die. Like, it looks like she's dying. And she just like slowly dies, and we see that she's sort of like looking out the window out at the river, and I think like one of the kids runs out of the house, and like it was like Leonard Bernstein embraces them, and he's like looking out over the water, and the family all quietly get into a car and drive off. It's like it's too painful for them to be in this house anymore now that she's gone. And then we hard cut. No, not even hard cut, actually dissolves, and the aspect ratio is now even wider. And we see this like now pretty fancy looking, like probably like 80s or 90s car driving towards the camera, and a song is playing. And it's the song by REM, It's the End of the World as We Know It, which has that infamous bit that goes, Leonard Bernstein, Leonard Bernstein. And of course, that's the part that we hear.
Of course.
To introduce us to a new time. And Leonard Bernstein gets out, and he's fucking so old now.
He's so old, dude.
He's so fucking old. He's got a big old paunch.
Yeah.
And he's teaching conducting, and he teaches this one student to how to conduct properly. And it's like, I don't know anything about conducting. I really should like reach out to people who know a thing or two about this and see what they have to say about it, because it's like, it's so funny because it's like the guy's up there conducting and Leonard Bernstein's like, no, that's not the right way to do it, and then he does it again,
and it looks the exact same to you.
It's the same to me. And then Leonard Bernstein's like, no, here's what you do, and then he goes up and he does a thing that's like slightly different, and everyone's like, holy shit, that was fucking brilliant. And like, again, it's like, I'm an artist. I don't want to minimize the works of artistry.
Do you think that there's a lot of movies about conductors because it's easy to bullshit skill at that?
Probably.
Right? It's
probably.
like at least the average audience. Like an average audience member is like, oh, you're not playing that piano. Like, I can tell that. But like a conductor is just like, I don't fucking know. Maybe he's doing a good job.
Everyone seems very impressed by it. So sure, maybe it was really good. So he teaches the student how to properly conduct, and then we hard cut, and he's fucking dancing with this student, a male student, and they're fucking like dancing really close. They're getting hot and sweaty. They're drinking.
He's all old?
He's old now.
Ooh.
He's an old man, and he's dancing with
How old's that student?
I mean, they're like in college, so like probably 22, 23. And yeah, he seems happy. Leonard Bernstein seems very happy about the fact that he's finally able to do this.
Well, what about this guy?
I don't. He seems okay with it.
Right.
You know what? We don't know very much about him. I don't know.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, and Leonard Bernstein seems pretty happy that he's able to just be all sweaty and close to this guy. And then we cut and he's being interviewed, which at the very beginning of the movie, and he says, "Summer sings to me, but not as often as it used to. But it still does, and if it didn't, I would have killed myself long ago." And then he just sort of like sits there like that, like thinking that, like, "Oh, I probably would have done that." And then he looks over at the person off camera and he goes, "Any questions?" And then what's his name? The guy, whatever. The movie ends.
What guy? What are you talking about?
Leonard Bernstein says, "Any questions?" And I was like, "Oh yeah." Then Pumpkins shows up, and Tom Hanks shows up. And he's like, "Any questions?" No, he says, "Any questions?" The movie ends. Last shot is Felica in black and white, looking at the camera and then walking off, and then we get footage of the real Leonard Bernstein conducting. And this is always my favorite thing, where it's like, you have like a biopic and then you show actual footage so then you can show off how good the performance was. Yeah. Like, look how
you fucking nailed that shit.
Pretty good, right? Pretty good.
Yeah. It's just the directing part. I mean, like him saying anything or talking or
not him
like
talking. No.
Interesting.
Maybe he talked like that. I don't know.
I would have loved to see that comparison because that's what I want to know.
No, it's just him conducting. But yeah, the movie ends with Leonard Bernstein asking if there's any questions, and as you said, the movie opens with how art should be about not answering questions but providing a space for questions to be asked. So here's my question. What are we doing here?
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's things I liked. Like, I don't think it's not a bad movie.
I'm not going to say it's a bad movie either.
No.
I'm not going to say it's shit, but I'm just like, it's just okay. You know?
It's fine.
It's definitely
very fine.
I'm going to say it. We haven't seen all the movies for the Oscars yet. I feel like it's the weakest one.
Probably the
right?
weakest
like,
one,
it's
yeah.
there because Martin Scorsese produced it. You know?
He did produce it. That's right.
He produced it.
Yeah.
I assume he's what's his face? Fucking
Bradley Cooper.
Bradley Cooper's like friends with someone in the Academy. You know, they like Star is Born a lot.
Yeah, that's true.
So they're probably like, you know what? We also like movies about conductors because Tar was nominated last year.
Like and Leonard Bernstein would write music for movies as well.
So anything in Hollywood.
Yeah, exactly.
So I
also we got a gay man, so it's like
that's cool.
the Hollywood loves the stories about the gay people. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But I just like I feel like I disagree with the thing of like this is not an there is an interesting story to be told here. I don't know if this is the way.
I think I know so little about him, really, to be honest. Like literally, it feels like spark notes, of kind of his life, and his accomplishments that I don't really get a full grasp of what they were and what he did.
Right. He wrote the music for West Side Story.
He did. They mentioned that.
Yeah. But yeah, no, there's a lot of stuff that he did,
Yes.
like West Side Story and stuff. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's so much that I wish we could have delved into. How great would it be? Would it be if we see all these other people, famous people that he got. To,
I will say
and stuff.
This is better than Bohemian Rhapsody for sure.
Gosh,
for sure.
Not even close.
Like I was at least not really that bored by it. There were moments. But I wasn't that bored by it. Like there were sometimes I was just like, I don't know what we're doing here.
Just from the
I know a lot about Queen, Like I know more about them than Leonard Bernstein.
Yeah. Just from the perspective of like a film. Like this is obviously a better film.
Yes,
the way it's edited, the way it's shot.
Beautiful looking, can't deny that.
Yeah.
The makeup effects are good.
Yeah.
The acting is great.
Yeah.
It's just in the end, they didn't really frame the story in an interesting way.
In a way that I thought was cohesive to what I think they were trying to do.
Yeah. And I think that's just the problem with biopics and trying to encapsulate everything.
After watching this movie, I did go like, man, I really want to see like a good biography about this guy.
Yeah. Like it didn't give you what you wanted. And I don't know if that's really obviously that's not really what they were going for.
Yeah.
But I don't really think they made a really super compelling love story either.
I don't think so either. Yeah. Again, yeah, I think by choosing to be sort of like I feel like in my half in a very arm's distance as to how this relationship went.
Which is interesting because at the beginning, like I really like that scene of they're in the playhouse and they're talking to each other and they have this good banter and it feels like they're definitely in love and it feels like an old 40s,
like
type
film.
movie, and that was a really cool moment. And it just kind of obviously there's going to be hiccups in the relationship.
Sure.
It just kind of
I think we
faded
just needed
from there.
more time with the two of them, like before she gets like her cancer diagnosis and before he starts cheating. Like I want more scenes of the two of them just like
because it's almost instant
being
like,
husband and wife. You know,
it's true they did skip like a whole section of them like raising kids. And
there
like,
you go.
We missed the good years. All I'm saying.
Yeah, I'd love to have seen those
Instead of just a montage.
Yeah, that's true. But it was fine. It was just
fine.
okay.
It was fine.
You're right. It's not a bad movie.
It's not a bad.
Probably
movie.
the weakest of the group that we're about
It's
to
just kind
see,
of a man
but
movie.
It's a man movie. Yeah, Maestro.
You could skip this one. Yeah, you could skip this one. I'm saying.
Yeah,
if
probably.
If you're like, I'm short for time, which Oscar movies are you gonna watch?
If you're short for time, yeah. But I would say like even if you wanted to see
if you're interested in Leonard Bernstein, go for it.
some great
Sure.
makeup effects.
Yeah.
Acting wasn't that bad. Loved how it was directed. Not too shabby. Guys, what was your favorite Leonard Bernstein piece? Email us at email@podcast.com. Let us know. He also, like I said, he wrote music for movies and stuff. So if you'd recommend any ideas for things that he was part of, I'd love to hear about that when we aren't watching Oscar movies. And if you want to listen to any of our previous Oscar movie episodes, or if you want to keep up to date for the future ones, you can find them on any podcatching app. And while you're there, please leave a 5-star rating and review. We will read it in the show, no matter what it says, even if it's a little bit, it's a little uneven. It's like I don't know what you're going for here. It's a bit like what are you saying? Is this a positive? Is this a negative? What are you trying to establish in this little review here? But yeah, there you go. So that's our first Oscar nominated movie, bud.
Yay!
Yeah,
what a good time. We did it.
Yeah.
So I was very shocked by this because I guess it's a Netflix film, right?
It is a Netflix film. It's the only one that's up, I believe.
I was very shocked to see the number where it's like budget $80 million, box office 820,000.
So it was a big ass bomb.
It also wasn't open very long. It was one of those things where Netflix is like, we put it up on our streaming service,
Right. So who knows how much money they're making off the streaming
but
service.
I think they only maybe put it out for a little bit in theaters.
80 million?
No. Oh yeah, 80 million. The
Wow.
cost. It's very expensive. I think.
I think like it's a lot of obviously like the cast and the crew and all that stuff and the makeup effects. I think is definitely not inexpensive as well. The guy who did the makeup for this movie worked on The Grinch.
Oh wow! I mean, makeup in Grinch is pretty good. That's one
Yeah.
thing you can't knock in this movie,
No.
or that movie, I guess.
The Grinch?
The Grinch, the
Yeah.
makeup. You're not like, wow, that fucking Grinch looks fake as hell.
No,
He's
that
not
looks
really
like a real Grinch.
That's a real Grinch. I believed it. I cried.
Good night, everybody.
So you don't learn a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
And that's fine. The movie's not going for that, and that's okay. But then what are we going for, huh? We're going for we're going to I am so sorry. My
What?
my arm was laying on the laptop keyboard and it clicked to the next page and it just has this picture of Brendan Fraser just there, and I just was like, what the fuck? He's just staring. They look like a happy little goober. Because the Academy Award for Best Picture just has the last one there.
I wasn't in this movie.
This is so weird.
It's the Renaissance, baby.
Renaissance style.
I was in the whale.
Why do I sound like that?
I don't know.